As an intimacy sex therapist, couples often ask, what causes the majority of divorces, or how do we know if our marriage will be able to make it? There's certainly no guarantees, but there's a lot of information in marriage research that basically goes through and depicts things that stand out, reasons why couples will end a marriage even after 20 years. The best advice I'm going to give you up front is that you talk with your partner every day to avoid any kind of lingering, long, deep-seated issues. If you talk 10 minutes a day, we have good research of what that can do in a long-term marriage. Now, I've been married for a very long time. I got married to my husband when I was 20, and I have continued to be married to him. And I can honestly tell you, there were many times in our marriage where one of us could have decided to leave. Enough reason, enough just feeling burned out. But the reason we didn't is upfront, and this is what I believe. I think it's true, but you never really know for sure. I think we had such a deep vow of commitment that we decided that no matter what it was, we were going to be the type of people that would exhaust working it out. And because of that, and because of what I've seen come from that, the love is deepened. Our sacrifices have brought us to a place where I don't know what I would do without him anymore. And I'm pretty sure he feels the same way. I want that for you. But I want you to know up front, there is no marriage that goes with no problems. Every marriage has issues. And I don't care what anybody says, that is absolutely true. It's how willing you are to put the effort in and seek the people who can help you with your marriage in order that makes it work. And many times I really believe in my heart what I've seen with couples is they gave up. And they gave up because they were tired. They didn't know how to take a break. They wanted the marriage to stay, but they just didn't feel empowered to really have the stamina to make it work. So for you today, I'm going through the top reasons that marriage experts have found why people walk away from their marriage. And the first of these is affairs. Now, before I say anything, I'm going to tell you most affairs that have happened, and if the marriage has a history of at least 10 years, usually the couple will decide to work it out, even though there is an affair. However, the ability to build back the trust is so difficult that sometimes, even though they say up front, we're going to work it out, years later, one of them walks away and says, I can't do it. I thought I could, I couldn't. Secondly, boredom. Boredom is still a top reason, and it usually isn't both partners being bored. It's one of them, and that partner lacks the creativity or the communication ability or whatever it is, what they need to confront their partner and tell them what's going on. And therapy is not helpful, and they end up just leaving. Thirdly, battle fatigue. If you don't establish a healthy way to communicate frustration, anger, whatever, then you're going to fight about it, because fighting is a normal thing to do in marriage. And after a while, if you fought enough and nothing is resolved, one of the partners usually just loses it. They start falling out of love, and that will cause them to leave. One too many crises. Maybe you've had financial crisis. Maybe you've had health crisis. Maybe you've had a child born with a terrible disorder. Crisis after crisis after crisis, with no time or space to heal, to allow each other a space to heal and to work on it together. Once again, something therapy would really help with. Those couples many times will start spiraling backwards, and one of them will walk away. And if one walks away, then basically the other one has to also let go. A change in dreams or goals. I saw quite a bit of that this year because with the pandemic, people reacted in different ways, and some of them went to incredible extremes. They joined different groups, they decided they wanted to be in the Peace Corps, all kinds of, they shifted their whole alliances. Some of them, changed faiths in the middle of it. Some of them changed political parties, things that seemed insurmountable to the marriage and what was established. And one of the partners would walk away. And that was a real cause of marriage breakup in 2020. And it continues now through 2021, the beginning of it. Let's see, disappointments and disillusionments. Maybe what you had always thought about doing with your partner, you decide, you finally have come clear that this is never going to happen. Maybe your partner developed a mental illness and refuses to get treatment. And the breaking point for couples is not the disappointment. It's the disillusionment that they told themselves when they got married that no matter what would happen, they would fight for the relationship. But let's say you're sick, or you have a mental illness, or you have a drug addiction or some kind of addiction, and you put that before the relationship, then this is a disillusionment. Like, you never expected your partner to put anything before the relationship, especially an addiction or, a resistance to getting treated for a medical or a mental issue. So when that happens, it destroys a sense of the trust. It's a betrayal, and couples will break for that reason. Needing aloneness. This is not a common one, but sometimes what happens is when the marriage has been through something traumatic, or if one of the partners feels like the other partner is always dependent on them, that there is no place for them to go on an adventure alone or be by themselves, or they haven't been able to successfully carve out a space for themselves and their thoughts in the relationship, they don't know how to deal with that in a marriage. And what they try to do is they withdraw and they exclude. But when you exclude yourself from a partner, the partner doesn't understand why. And many times that will lead to a breakup or walking away from a relationship. Running away from maturity. Let's say you have a child and you weren't prepared, and you didn't feel like you had really lived your life yet, and now you're responsible for a little one. This is one of the reasons that 2 years after a marriage, the divorce rate is so high. And this is the main culprit. Suddenly, one of the partners was not ready to grow up and really be a responsible partner. And, better they find out in the first 2 years and hopefully before a child is born. But this is a major reason for marriage and relationship breakups. And wanting more. Maybe you married someone that you felt would be a good husband, a good dad, a good mother, but the person is incredibly boring to you, or they just, they're stay at home, and you weren't thinking of that. When you first got together, you were always going everywhere together. Sometimes this happens after, a time in marriage, 15, 20 years, and all of a sudden, all your partner wants to do is stay home. They don't want to go on adventures. They don't want to fly to another country and explore things. And they're uncomfortable with you doing that with other people. This kind of a, line in the sand can cause all kinds of problems, especially if the other partner digs in their heels and isn't willing, says, I'm not an adventure person, I don't like this anymore. This is a real change, and it can cause a disillusionment and an abandonment of the marriage. And I think when some people feel as though their marriage was doomed from the beginning. They just feel like they married for the wrong reasons, maybe to escape another love, maybe to escape parents, maybe to, go figure themselves out. And they just never gelled as a husband and wife. They were good friends, but they just felt like they could never make it as a team, as two people who were married for life. And you'll see this, and I think this happens a lot when couples say we outgrew each other, or they tell me this a lot, or we just had irreconcilable differences. It's usually this: they basically, if you go back in their history, they weren't ever really sure that they were that secure. If you don't secure the marriage with a marriage style within the first 2 years, then your marriage is always kind of floating, and this can happen to you. I think if you're in this place where you're kind of going through, okay, I don't ever want my marriage to divorce, going through these 10 can really help you. And talk to your partner. Bring it up. What would we do if one of us had an affair? What would we do if one of us changes our complete goals or wants to change faith? It's not going to mean that it's going to happen. It's going to mean that the two of you are open and there's a space for it to talk about it. And the space to talk about it is so important in a healthy